Alrighty. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to do today is to get you all to uh, move out of fear paralysis. That is something that happens when we have a shock that is great, and we are living in shocking times, my friends. So let's go ahead. You can get comfortable, whether you're on a bed, sitting in a chair, lying on a couch. Just go ahead. If the idea of somebody at your feet, like, oh, classic. Alrighty, folks.
It was just for like 5 seconds. I'm sorry when I mute it
Okay.
all. I don't know how to
Okay.
override that. Just so
Good.
no disruptions. Okay, my
Yep.
fault.
No worries. I was like, how long is that going on?
It was like 3 seconds.
Great. So you can imagine that if it's comforting to you, that I'm standing at your feet holding these points at the K1, which is, I'm not going to show you the bottom of my feet, but just imagine that the pad of your foot below your toes, right at this point where the ball meets the arch, right in the center of your foot on both feet. So imagine that if it's comforting to you, you can imagine that I'm standing there and releasing that energy, and it's going down to the ground, to the earth, the center of the earth, and getting fresh energy and coming back up to your field, to your bubble. And you can help the process by imagining a golden cord that's coming from your end of your tailbone, doing the same thing. And we're just moving old energy. It's that shocked energy away from you to get purified by the earth and come back up the backside of your grounding cord. And I'm just waiting to feel that energy balance out. The field actually becomes out of synchrony. Basically, the two halves of our brain are supposed to work together in the same frequency, and when we get shocked, they don't. They're operating on different frequencies. Great, I'm feeling a shift. Take a deep breath in and let that go. Wonderful. Alrighty. So now we're moving on to release any kind of emotional shock with the stress points, emotional stress release points, and the end of the kidney meridian. So one of the benefits of knowing the meridian system is that any of the meridians, if you hold the end points, it will help calm that meridian line. And in Touch for Health, we do that with all of the meridians except for the heart meridian. We just leave that to the wisdom of the heart, and everything else, that if we are feeling over energy in a particular way, we would know to use a particular meridian, that endpoint, to help us calm down. So let's go ahead, and I'm holding the points like this energetically for you. And if you want to assist the process, or just in general have this as a tool for you, you take those two fingers together to make a neutral, working about an inch, half inch to an inch below the collarbones at about that kind of U shape. It's going to be different for everybody, but just is going to coordinate with your unique physiology. And then the same thing up about an inch above your eyebrows, directly above your eyes. And as you're holding these points, if you choose to do so, or just relax, it helps the energy of stress, emotional stress, to release away. And again, the group makes a field connected to that, which I'm reading as I hold these points, and I'm looking for balance. Good work. It's coming into balance. And take a deep breath in and let that go. So I very specifically do these 2 energy points to allow the stress in your mind to calm down enough, your mind and body to calm down enough that you are then able to think more clearly. And here are the other things that I have to say. So now I'm going to guide you through the Bun meditation, which is also called Tibetan yoga because it's a combination of mind and body, both holding the breath and visualizing energy movement in the body. So we're doing what they call the secret salong, I believe. Certainly the inner salong. The idea is that you can do this in secret without anybody knowing. So right now, if I were going to do this practice, I've done it a long time, so I take a deep breath. When you're first doing it, try a shallow breath because if you take too deep a breath and try to hold it, it can make your heart race. We're not looking to stress your heart out at all. So I'm not going to lead you through it right now, but I'm just going to show you. So say I were doing it. I'm imagining it coming down to 3 finger widths below the junction, and then I'm imagining the energy coming back up here. And as I'm holding that, you heard the breath, right? But I can bring this into my daily life. Say I go to a store and somebody rushes to the counter, pushes past me to get served first. It's a really great time to do that. Do you really want to get engaged by their anger, their stress? For your sake, they're looking for an outlet. They're like the electrical storm that's looking for the high point on land to strike. So this is good for those times when you want to say, no, I'm up leveling my vibration. No, thank you, universe. Please don't send me any more of that. Or whatever you call your higher power. I alternate. So go ahead, let's take a deep breath in. And that energy and the breath, imagine that coming down to 3 finger widths below the junction, and hold the breath while you send the energy back up to your crown chakra. And when you're ready, the energy will release upwards as purple smoke. And then just relax and breathe normally in the moment. And when you're ready, let's go ahead and take another deep breath in. And as you send the energy down, that orange line to 3 finger widths below the junction, hold that breath while you send the energy to the throat chakra. A beautiful sky blue color at your throat. And as you're holding that, as long as it's comfortable, you will then release 360 degrees around you, that's blue smoke. And then just breathe normally. And then if you're ready, join me for the third time, taking a deep breath in, polishing the skull as it comes down to 3 finger widths below the junction, and holding the breath while you send the energy to the heart chakra, that beautiful emerald green color. And holding that as long as is comfortable, knowing that everybody has a different ability. It will be 360 degrees around of green smoke when you're ready to release. Notice as the calm begins to increase in your body. You might have been feeling really well after the first 2, and yet there's still more that can release and feel more comfortable. So enjoy that. And now let's take a deep breath in, sending the breath down the central channel to 3 finger widths below the belly button to the junction, and then sending only the energy while holding the breath to this yellow chakra, which is the solar plexus chakra. And again, releasing 360 degrees all around that yellow smoke whenever you're ready. And relaxing and breathing as you wish. And in this system, we do skip the sixth chakra and the second chakra. So we will be moving on to that first chakra to finish up. Taking a deep breath in, sending the energy down to the very bottom, 3 finger widths below the belly button to the junction. And then the energy for the first time heads downward to the first chakra. And as you're there, that energy, whenever you're ready to release, will go downwards as red smoke into Mother Earth. And then just sit in calm abiding and notice the shift. Now, I tell the story on myself of how stressed out I was at the start of this when I first learned that practice, and I would be so worked up by what was happening in my life that it was all I could do to not basically run in circles ranting and screaming. it was some of the worst years of my life when I was learning this practice, some of the most difficult, some of the most unable to connect to the body, unwilling to hear the messages, and where the monkey troop of my mind was making crazy. So this is a fabulous way to help restore calm to mind and body. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. All right, so I'm going to read the goal now, which is, I am healed in body, speech, and mind. I am comfortable in my body. I allow my body and my mind to learn from and let go of old stress and trauma. I am allowed to feel calm. It is safe for me to feel calm and peaceful in my body. I sleep deeply through the night, knowing everything always turns out marvelously well. My negative core beliefs are healed. My relationships are easy and peaceful. I stay calm throughout my day, even when provoked. My higher power supports me fully in this. I deeply love all of my inner children who are stressed and traumatized and who keep me from feeling calm and peaceful. I invite them home to my heart. I am purposeful and prosperous. My resources are generous and I share them with others. My parents and siblings want this for me. My extended family and friends want this for me. Society wants this for me. So these are all sentences that will help activate inner children within us that are ready to come home to our hearts today. And first off, let's talk about, thank you, Rachel. So for working with the inner child, we're having this up here as in case you need more time, but just know that some of you won't feel comfortable doing this exercise, and that's normal. You just want to notice if it feels safe for you and participate if it feels safe for you. And imagine yourself in a beautiful, safe place if you're not ready for this exercise, knowing that your self-care is allowing you to do the right thing for yourself, and patience is rewarded with the subconscious. It has a long history of us thinking negative thoughts that hurt its feelings, and it's in some cases, it just wants us to give it more time to get to know us. The conscious mind 2.0, which is the warm fuzzy parent that has boundaries and wants the best for their inner children, and also knows how stray thoughts can hurt that little 3 and 4-year-old within us all. So first off, I'm going to go into how our child mind is trying to help us. These are things that I picked up along the way that have helped me get the most out of my life. And I've had to find a lot of resources to help me heal from complex PTSD growing up in a military family. For the first thing that I want to say is, I would have said that I was a positive person. I wasn't aware of the ways in which I was negative because I was negative towards myself. I wasn't negative towards other people. I was, always hoping for the best, and unconsciously thinking things that were negative about me. But psychologists have done research in positive psychology, and they know that people who are positive towards themselves accomplish more in life and are happier. And so if we want to be happier and accomplish more in life, then we need to start working in this area of allowing more positivity, even if in some way we feel that we're not worthy of it. And often we think we're not worthy of it because of some kind of belief that we had to believe to survive our childhood. So the subconscious, I think of as a hero. It's trying to save our life, and it thinks it knows all the rules, and it knows better than we do. So it's obviously it's such a genius. There are things that it knows that we don't know, but it also has a lot of ways in which it was broken by our childhood. It was limited by our childhood. Now, I really think that people are kind of, that our subconscious is keeping track of every interaction we have and establishing a social pecking order. And some of us, if you think of like going to if you've ever been to see a chicken coop, you will see that there are chickens who have very few feathers and they are constantly getting attacked. The same thing's happening for us as humans. We don't see it quite the same way. We don't understand that it's happening, but our subconscious is creating that situation based on what it believes it deserves. And if you look around you, the people that you see on the street who are homeless would be the ones who are suffering the most from that. And it's because of childhood trauma that has left them unable to believe that they deserve more. It's left them unable to have resources to be able to prevent a decline. And but it's limiting all of us in some way to keep us from our zone of genius. So that is something that was coined by a psychologist by the name of Dr. Gay Hendricks. And he talked about the comfort zone of the subconscious. It wants to recreate that childhood limit where we were excellent at something and not too bad at something, just like staying right in there. We don't get picked on by our peers for seeming to do so much better than they did on a test, for example. We don't get teased for being a brainiac or for being a show-off accidentally just because we could maybe dance better than somebody else or sing better than somebody else or draw better than somebody else. Or perhaps our parents were better off financially than other people, or however way. There's so many ways in which we can experience a trauma and hold that part of us that's no longer to be safe, and it becomes held in the body, in our connective tissue, all of the emotions around it as an inner child, that the body wants to learn the feeling behind and can't risk not learning from. So it holds on to them and allows us to have a continuity to our life. That's the purpose of the subconscious, that child mind. So it's suffering in silence. It steps up and tries to protect us anytime it sees something that could be similar to that past trauma. So it's a hero. Now, as I said, it's a misguided hero, and we can help it because we know that we don't want to live through our childhood again as an adult. We want better for ourselves, and we know that there are health implications if we continue on the path of our childhood trauma. What does it mean? It needs to learn the feeling and holds on to it. Yes, this is why emotions are stored. So we are an emotionally based, socially based species. Emotions are our survival mechanism. If we don't learn the feelings that we're picking up from other people as well as our own feelings, it can affect our survival chances. So this is why we have developed something called mirror neurons. So each of us has mirror neurons within us that will activate when we're around other people, and either we want to imitate what they're doing, like, so say for example, if a monkey is trying to open a clamshell and it sees another monkey is doing it, its mirror neurons are activating, and it knows, oh, I grab this tool and I smack it really hard, or I drop it from a certain height or whatever. You can have a shortcut to learning, but it's also about feelings. And our mirror neurons are activating when we walk into a room and we take the temperature of the room. We know pretty much immediately who it is that's having the bad day, and whether we need to keep our distance because they're unsafe, etc. So, for example, I wanted to drop some stuff off at Goodwill the other day, and I went into it was at the Tri-County Market, and I pulled up and I heard the guy swearing, and was immediately on guard about, do I even get out of my car? And I could see that he was holding it together enough that I could get out of the car. And I just said, are you open to receiving donations? And he said, no, not really, not now. And I said, all right, have a good day. And got in the car and drove off. So even without that, you don't need somebody cussing to be able to tell that there's something potentially off. And that's because your mirror neurons are giving you information on a subconscious basis. So if I had an experience like that and I ignored the fact that I had a situation like that, I wouldn't necessarily understand that sometimes people are dangerous, you see? So it's I was having a sensation of caution, a sensation of holding back. So there was a back body reaction. A lot of times you'll get a feeling up your spine that is the muscles tensing up and it's saying no. And we have that interaction with people frequently during the day, that we either feel that it's safe to want to be closer to them, to hug a person, for example, feels safe, or it doesn't feel safe. And you'll have one or the other reaction, or somewhere in between, mixed reactions. So trust that inner sensation. We had talked a little bit about it last week. Trust that you are developing a relationship with your body that has an innate intelligence and ability to feed you information in the moment to keep you safe. But particularly for women, we're taught to ignore our feelings and sensations and think of the other person first. So this can be a process to get back to. So if we don't learn that some people don't want to be approached for a lot of different reasons, they're grumpy, they're having a bad day, they're having a life crisis, or that they or even if people do want to be approached but they are mentally unstable, they can be unsafe that way. So we just have to like see how to interact, and know that if we don't check in at least once a week, I would say, with ourselves, to sort of just say to the body, hey, how's it going, checking in, that we are just encouraging these emotions to hang out in our body that are unlearned from. And these are neurochemicals that are inflammatory, and inflammation can lead to disease. So it's to our own benefit for long-term health to deal with emotions and to be able to start to tolerate them. And I learned the hard way by going all the way to the very end of what was doable, handleable by my body. I believe that's kind of what the midlife crisis is for a lot of people, that it's just that the storage tanks are full of as much as can be held. And it just feels like we want to unzip our skin and step out because there's no more room left in the body. It just feels toxic. So you don't want to get there. I learned the hard way. All right, so a couple more things before I move on, because we are running through time. We want to give the child mind what it wants, which is to learn emotionally, as I was saying, because it will keep calling in versions of unlearned emotions in a new formula. And each time the stakes are raised. So in my case, the stakes kept getting raised until finally it was my life at stake. And that's where, you know, in my thought is that we are here to learn emotionally to help with spiritual growth, to help the soul grow. So it can be hard to be in a body and dealing with that level of I think it must sound better when we're the soul without a body. Oh yeah, I get to have some shore leave and go spend time in a body. And like, yeah, but it's really hard. um, Not always, but the hard times can be just really challenging sometimes. So that's why just learning a drop at a time can help us towards helping that soul growth, and helping the subconscious be willing to rewire for our improved life situation. So also always give your child mind a positive destination, that everything always turns out marvelously well. It's not something that we allow for because that when we've had a lot of trauma and PTSD and stress, because we can see that things can be pretty lousy sometimes. But we have to trust, despite everything that's happened in the past, that we can call in something better. And it will take some time for you to trust me when I say that this is in fact possible. The Whatever you call your higher power is always looking for the best for us. It's looking for us to succeed and prosper and have good health. And if we keep the door shut to that, then it can't deliver. And not giving the child mind a positive destination is definitely shutting that door. So I hope that you'll remember, and it's a practice. You will get better with the more practice you do, that when you get diverted into worry, that you redirect yourself. And you'll get better with practice for sure. I certainly have. Alrighty, so now we're moving on to the emotional clearing. You go ahead and check to see what we're doing today. So an emotion. Let me look that up, see if we have it yet. Otherwise, if we don't, I'll be posting it when I post the video, what it was. So this is somebody else's emotion of cringing. It's actually cringing or cowering, and it's more of a cowering. So we can take other people's feelings on in order to help them cope with something. As children, we try to take it on for our parents if they're struggling in life. We also take it on sometimes for siblings that we want to please, or other extended members of family or friends, to be accepted into a social group, for example. So just go ahead and give your body permission to send you that drop. And if you're more experienced with this and you trust that you can have it send you 2 or 3 drops or the whole dropper full, or just any past experience, you are in charge of what you want to have happen for your body today. I'm holding the points for you to keep it safe. And just notice every sensation from head to toe, because this is the way the body learns. And if it feels uncomfortable or distressing, you just send it love. This helps the body by not interfering with its yum. I had a friend whose child, they had the expression, "Don't yuck my yum." When a kid would take a sandwich to school and another kid didn't like it, they would, make a face, and the first kid would say, "Hey, don't yuck my yum." So that's what the child mind is saying to us. Please don't yuck my yum. And I'm just waiting for that to balance out. The field gets to go back and forth as we process between the hemispheres in that field. And that's good. Take a deep breath in and let that go. Okay, so we have a hidden layer of feeling. Okay, so let me look this one up. Okay. This is ancestral, and this is struggling to navigate and avoid the perils of life. And you can imagine all of our ancestors, all of the struggles that they have had in getting through their childhoods, getting through their adulthoods, raising children, and navigating as they aged into old age, if they were lucky enough. And of course, that gets handed down from generation to generation epigenetically. It's all of the experiences influence that happen before our parents have children influence us epigenetically in the expression of our DNA. It doesn't change the DNA, but it does change the expression, and it can make us more anxious, it can make us more depressed, any number of things. It can make us more angry. Um, yeah, there's a lot of ways in which we are influenced by that. So just let that go, knowing that they did the best they could, and their parents did the best they could, and their parents' parents did the best they could, and they didn't have these kinds of tools to be able to just identify and release. Whether it's a drop at a time or more, noticing everything from head to toe as your body takes that neurochemical and starts to process and understand it. It's like suddenly it's getting to go to its own school today in this session. And any other form of learning that it's done has been accidental, aside from these kinds of sessions where we identify and let it learn, and then we can relate and know as the good parent, wow, you really learned a lot in school today, didn't you? Alrighty, take a deep breath in and let that go. Okay, so that's it for the emotional clearing. We're going to work on the chakra reset. Okay, at chakra 7, so at the crown chakra, energy is coming through. And that's just being directed by your higher power through the back of my hand. I'm just the conduit. For that universal energy. All right. And then we've got, very good, integrating inner children. For those of you who are ready, let's go ahead, take a deep breath in. And as you breathe out, just connect into your mind and body and imagine that there are 5,000 inner children in a beautiful, safe place. And they are from the age of 1 year old to the present day. Imagine you can walk up to your inner children and say hello, either out loud or in your head. Tell them, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were here all alone. I came as soon as I heard. I'm you, all grown up. We've survived and we've thrived. Your home is in my heart. Come home to my heart. And show them about half a dozen pictures of you between the ages of 1 year old to the present day, so they know that you've survived. And if you're not ready, you can go through to that prior recording that's in the group chat. And if you don't see that, let us know and we'll repost it. But if you're ready, ask them if they are ready to come home to your heart. And let's go ahead and tell them that they can shrink down to points of light, or if you prefer, as little pixies, and make their way home to your heart. You may feel a sense of shimmering or vibration in your body. And that's your fascial train activating to let these neurochemicals of emotion that happen from the inner child being created, in a particular instance, to head home to your heart, to be released and freed for this layer today. And take a deep breath in. And this time send out a buttery yellow light of self-compassion to every layer of you that's cooperated here today, to every cell in your body. And when you're ready, another deep breath in. This time sending out love and gratitude to every layer of you that cooperated here today. And like I said, there are resources in a prior video that you can go to a specific spot if you need to have more time to be able to integrate them. Let's see now, removing negative energies. Let's go ahead and just get comfortable as I work on this. I'll get a little quiet as I ask for help. Okay, very good. That's complete. And then the last thing is about gratitude. Gratitude to yourself, gratitude to your subconscious for working with you, and for your higher power for always being there for you. And gratitude confirms that you like the direction that you're going in. So by taking time for gratitude, you call more of what you're grateful for in. Alrighty, that does it. It's 10:45. Anybody who wants to is welcome to either give feedback.
Sorry.
No worries. Either
I'm
feedback.
muting everybody.
Yeah. So either welcome to give feedback in audio form or turn your video on and give us feedback so people watching later can go ahead and see that it's actually helping some people and maybe could help them too. Anybody have anything they want to say?
I have a question, Liz.
Sure.
So I've been working on, I could really relate to what you were saying about paralyzing trauma and a point in my life where the physical symptoms were so intense that I didn't realize what was happening, and I lost about 15 years in bed isolating. And what I'm trying to do now that I'm kind of alive and awake again, it's been like I've been doing this really intense work for almost a year. Like that, I think I'm at like 1,600 hours of therapy between treatment and outpatient and all that. And here's what I'm at like pause. Like that's the message I'm getting is if I can understand what instincts are being sort of triggered in the moment and rate them, like self-esteem, pride, ambition, security, I have it written down, personal relations, sex, and money. And what I'm trying to work on, and my question is like, so when I'm pausing in the now, my ego has no power, right? So my ego is basing the story on the precedents of what happened before and then making up something to protect me about what may or may not happen in the future. But if I stay in the now, the ego doesn't like that. And I pause and I use the tools that I have to ask my higher power for help. I do the somatic thing. I take a shower. I put cold water on my hands. I call a friend.
Mhm.
I have tools now, and that way I don't do maladaptive behaviors that could turn into basically self-harm. I mean, I could do a lot of things. Eventually it might lead me to drinking and taking drugs, which is a problem for me. But my question is, like, I get confused on my divine nature, God in me, my Buddha nature, whatever is connected to you and everything else, and then the inner children, and then the ego. So is the person that's talking to my ego my divine nature? Like, it feels like it's almost like this Freudian thing of, I guess there's like an id, an ego, and a superego, and I'm just not sure where the inner children fit in.
Right.
And like, what's the ego's purpose? If it's in evolutionary, we all have egos that are thriving. It must be doing something right.
Yes. So, uh, so all of these aspects are part of the subconscious, the unconscious and subconscious. Um, I think of the Buddha nature as the part that's not wounded.
Not wounded. I like that.
Yeah. So, so what scared me the most when I started to try to get well was to think, I'm so broken. How could I possibly, like, like my radar is broken. How do I know where the right homing signal is, to
Yes.
act in any way?
Like the guy
Um,
at the Goodwill and trusting
yeah,
your instincts.
yeah. And so there is a part of us that is always tuned to radio higher power, and it's it's helpless to um because the broken parts of us can turn it away from being accessed. So we just as the conscious mind can know that our behavior in a moment is going to be wrong to do a maladaptive behavior. Um, we have urges and inner children and whatnot that are sending us down a well-worn
Yeah, it feels
pathway.
like a kid is like, no,
Right,
go smoke
right,
a cigarette. It'll be awesome.
right.
Eat some donuts. That's what we need to do. Let's
Exactly.
shop.
Yeah. And so just know that we have a partner to the conscious mind that is within us, that we are, if we can give it time,
Yeah, the
then
pause.
the pause. And the pause is,
Okay.
in addition to the things that you were saying, our five senses. And this is where we, in our culture, are um, struggling because we're taught by everything that happens to us that the body is often not a safe place to go to. So
Right.
we don't want to tune in to our body because we think that it's led us the wrong way, and yet it hasn't in this regard. Our five senses keep us from going into automatic patterns. So you could say that all of our maladaptive patterns are, if we're like a pinball machine, the well-worn tracks that the ball always goes down is all our maladaptive behaviors. So instead of letting the ball go, come up and go down
Blacking
that
out essentially.
same
Mhm.
old, right, tuning out of the now and becoming unconscious, staying conscious and present, our five senses. Um, you know, uh, so taste, smell, touch, sight. And the more we are in them, the more we will be able to connect to them. Um, the longer the pause will become. And it until so at first, when we're trying that, it'll feel like literally in my body, it feels as if I'm trying to not scratch an itch.
Yeah,
I'm
I
trying
don't know
to,
what reality feels like. Like,
right.
what is my perception? Am I off? Am I delusional? Or is the guy at the Goodwill dangerous? Or am I imagine like it takes a lot of energy to second guess yourself constantly?
Yeah, all of these things will grow. It's just about giving yourself more time and
Kindness. Okay.
time,
Mhm.
more
And that
time
loving
by
parent
being, yeah. And
internal dialogue.
yeah. And so inner children are the they're playing with the radio knobs
Hmm.
to keep us from tuning into radio higher power. So
Why?
we're driving down the car of life, down,
Yeah.
we're driving in the car of life down the road of life, um, and the inner children are playing with the radio station, and we can say, the the two adults in the car are in control of the steering wheel, and together we can tell the kids, no, no, get in the back
You're
seat,
safe. Okay.
put your seatbelt on, um, buckle in, and by the way, let's integrate um, our latest thing that we're working on. Uh,
I think that's
because,
what I need to hear is, not sorry to interrupt, is that I'm safe no matter what. I just feel like I'm so used to reacting, and my adrenal system was so tapped out because I was just maybe fighting with these kids and not loving them and loving myself. Like you were saying, that really hit home. Really speaking very kindly to myself and allowing myself to be happy, even if something's really, really wrong in my life, because there's always something wrong,
yeah,
and be able to still be aware and present and talking to other people and listening, being connected just
yeah,
is not familiar to me. So I'm trying to like integrate myself and integrate into society again. Because like when people would tell me that they had hobbies and went to Coachella, and I think I've joked about, have succulents and play pickleball and friend groups. I was just like, what?
mm,
What? I mean, I sounded crazy because I've lived in a hole for a while, but
mhm,
now I'm like not afraid to just say like, hey, can you help me? Because my perception of reality is a little off, but I know I can do it. And
yeah,
I think Sabrina's still on. Sabrina's done a lot of body work with me
mhm,
that's helped me integrate too. Just moving my body was like
yeah.
scary.
Yeah,
That shit was,
Pilates is great.
oh,
It's the moving the body while you pay attention to the sensations that it's all
okay.
about.
Thank you.
So that's where you're allowing your body to learn and integrate and become whole. And she does great work like
Thank you.
that. So um, the inner children are on guard to protect us from becoming too big for our britches or from having the emotional pain that we went through. They have um, taken on limitations to our behavior. They step up whenever we have a need. So they are trying to be a hero. They're just misguided. So it's definitely about giving yourself that positive destination of knowing that you and your inner children are going to be reunited in layers. You'll be working on it every week. And so, in the moment when you feel activated, just to say to yourself and to your inner children, oh, inner children, I see you, I love you, and it's all going to be okay. Did anybody else want to say anything? The shy group today? Everything's turning out marvelously well for them.
I think Sabrina was trying to unmute.
Oh, she has unmuted.
We can't hear you, but well, I'll share that I wanted to just thank you, Liz, that you introduced me to Joan, and we were able to connect in person and have just a really nice few hours connecting and having tea and talking and
Oh,
stuff. And
great.
yeah, so thank you. This is a great group. I'm very, very grateful for this whole experience.
Oh, that's wonderful. Hi,
Hey,
Lisa.
Lisa.
Hi, Liz. Just want to thank you. I love especially I feels really good just participating in this meditation, but how you go into depth about a little something different each time. I really appreciate that.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, thank you. Thanks so much.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's hard because there's so much. to this, and there's so much more that I could say if it weren't for the fact that I have to leave it open for beginners who haven't heard most of this stuff. So, yeah, I'm glad you're getting something from what I'm saying that's different each time too, because yeah, different things just come up um, as the week is progressing. For I notice that I should, focus on one thing or another.
Well, and also even the things that are said again are things that click differently
Right.
depending on where I'm at, where we're all at.
Yeah, for sure. And then there's the whole thing about being adult learners, and I think we have to learn something 7 times for it to stick. And it may be
Yes.
a little
All
bit
I get
more
is
in one case.
pause. I got one word out of it. Pause. Okay, I can do that. Like I'm slow.
Yeah.
But how
Oh,
do you
it's so true.
practice, Liz? Or maybe Lisa can help. Like I've been trying to tell people about this group. I'm like, it's kind of a guided meditation, but not really. And we kind of talk about inner children. It's PTSD, but then we have like a diagram of the like what's like the elevator pitch for this group?
Hmm. Um, well, really what we're doing is raising our David Hawkins scale of consciousness. And
Okay.
we're using different tools that people are familiar with, like meditation and mindfulness, breath work, and emotional acupressure in order to do it.
I think mindfulness is probably mainstream enough to just say not related to any artist way or 12 step or anything. It's a mindfulness
Mhm.
techniques.
Yeah.
I kind of dislike that word, but I think it's relatable.
Yeah. Basically in 20 years, there'll probably be a word for what I do. Until then, it's like,
That's
I'm
such a
kind of,
good point. That's like that is what's up. Like I feel like we're living in because of Zoom and this platform and the unbelievable amount of emotion that can be transferred through it. Like we're living through this like social experiment madness, that people
mhm,
are being aware that life is freaking hard. I just thought I was told life was going to be fine. Go to college, you'll meet somebody and
mhm.
you'll have some kids. And I was not told that life was suffering, and I'm pissed about that. I'm resentful, to just understand that things are hard and I have tools and I'm a freaking adult and I need to like
Yeah.
pay the rent and pick up dog poop and be a worker among workers. I used to
Mhm.
just go into stores and be like, how do you work at Ross and have a car and get gas and buy diapers? Like, what is life?
Yeah. Yeah. We all, wherever we're at, we have so much more privilege than so many people do. And there's a whole lot to what adulting is that, you know, we're
We have to.
okay. So Sabrina is saying she's sorry for her mute unmute hiccup. I will address this for next time. I agree with Lisa that all the review is so valuable because the mind body is learning another language of the deep integration of the I, me, mine, id, ego, inner children. Yes. Hmm.
I love it. Sabrina
Yeah.
is not fucking around. I love it.
No,
Sorry, I
no.
swear. I
Yeah,
was
I
gonna
do
say
sometimes
something.
too.
Well, I mean, I just like to sprinkle it into, but I'm doing some really, really deep work. And I wanted to just repeat the principles of the 12-step program that I'm in. But the goal here is I'm supposed to be, so it's honesty, hope, action, courage, integrity, willingness, humility, brotherly love, discipline, spiritual awareness, and service. That's adulting, man. I'm trying, but that's a lot. That's a lot on the menu.
Yeah, it feels like with all of the things
Overwhelming.
that we're asked to do, it's like learning how to juggle. But it's
Yeah.
not like being asked to learn how to juggle with one, two, three plates. It's like you're going along and suddenly sometimes there's 20 plates, and you really haven't gotten the three down. You know, it's all designed to make us have to go deep, to realize that we're helpless without asking for help.
Doing the
And
right thing. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah.
That was never important to me. It was just, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid. That was my whole internal dialogue, it's just terror.
I was, Sabrina just said, my mom used to say to me, life is hard and then you die. How's that to overcome? Yeah, working on it still.
I heard that too, yeah. And my
That was
mom was a
actually,
man hater. My mom told me that all men were shit and
oh,
I don't even bother.
wow.
They're all terrible people.
Well,
I mean, like almost like a racist.
this life is hard and then you die. So this is, um, Michael, my husband, just had the most beautiful quote, and I should have written it down.
Uh,
It was, I said, did you just come up with that? He's like, yep, yep. So it was basically, we choose cynicism. Cynicism is a
yes.
choice. And um, to step back and to say that, to realize that we have the power to choose it or not choose it, and like the pain of the unknown when we don't slip on that armor of cynicism, we're leaving ourselves vulnerable. We're leaving
Oh,
our
I love
underbelly
that.
unguarded. Um, and yet, so what came up a few times ago was the emotion of being weary of life, and it can be easy when we are struggling to be negative about it, and to realize that uh, it hurts to be vulnerable, and it hurts to not know how things are going to turn out. So that's where I have the everything always turns out marvelously well as a way to try to um, keep a positive outlook for ourselves and our inner children, and also just realizing that when we give in to the cynicism and the armor, that we are shutting the door for the universe to be able to deliver better into our lives. So, absolutely, this is something that um, it makes a huge difference in our lives. Thanks, Joan. Have a great rest of your day too. Yeah. So it's worth it to be vulnerable, to connect in, to realizing that, all we have these tools, and then the rest is going to be handed to us because of course, whatever you call your higher power is calling all of the shots. I can just tell you from the experience of myself and my clients that um, there is so much power that we have in learning to surf rather than just continuing to go under, and just be in the moment of struggle over and over again back to the same point. So yeah, just always tell yourself every day is a brand new day filled with hope and new possibilities, and here are my
I
tools.
recorded your affirmation, sorry to interrupt, and I put it on my voice memo and I sent it to a bunch of people.
Mm.
It's kind of cool to hear it in my own voice and in a voice memo if I'm just, that I'm safe, that I'm okay, that I'm
Mhm.
okay in society.
Yeah,
Um, would it be
that
okay if
that's
go ahead.
I was going to say that
Sorry.
affirmation is something that, every morning and every night is going to, and feeling how you
Nurture.
feel at the end of a session is going to help keep your vibration raised. So,
Yeah, that's it. The vibration.
yeah.
I
By the way, your
oh,
camera is on.
I know.
Okay.
I don't think you can see anything. I'm just trying to get ready
No,
to
just
go and
making
we're all
sure.
kind of no, I was gonna
Don't make any sudden
ask.
moves.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm no exposure therapy. Is it okay if I read something that a little affirmation that I wrote?
Mhm.
I think it's helpful. So I pray for strength and courage, patience, acceptance, and tolerance over people, places, and things today. I pray for your guidance and directions throughout the day. I pray that you use me to speak to others, providing me with words. I pray that you speak to me through others. I
Mm.
pray for signs and symbols of your presence today, understanding and knowledge of your will, and the power and courage to carry that out. I pray that you shield my body with armor, keeping out the fear, craving, anger, hurt, jealousy, envy, rage, sloth, shame, and guilt. I pray that you put the boots of steel on my feet and provide me with the strength and courage to put one foot in front of the other and walk this beautiful path you have laid out for me. I pray that you direct my thinking, removing any negative thoughts or self-talk that may lead me into self-sabotage. I pray that my thinking be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives. And I pray to be kind, loving, patient, and tolerant to all those around me. And I pray for love, happiness, and continued peace in my life. I thank you for all you're doing and continue to do in my life. You're ever present and all knowing. Just kind of, took that from other places, but I think you're right. It penetrates if I read it every day.
Yeah, absolutely. It both activates the inner children, but it also provides guidance for you overall as well.
Oh, it activates the inner children?
Yeah, it'll activate inner children. Our conscious mind goals activate our inner children.
Oh,
And so that's why we feel tension in our body a lot of times when we're trying to make a change, because they're all about, we didn't survive this new way. You might have your ego just
yeah.
explode into be like a narcissist jerk. So so that's why they get activated. They want the best for us. They just don't trust that because we've survived the best that it's safe to do that yet. So that's why we just have to work every week, every day.
And no one can give it to me but myself. I got, it's inner integration. I think I've kept thinking something.
The writer's way stuff is really good.
Artist way?
Yeah. Artist way, sorry. Yeah.
Julia Cameron, yeah.
So anytime you have the where you're writing about the past, what you thought about it then, what you've learned about it now, you're allowing the two hemispheres to start working together in the same frequency, which helps your immune system, but also helps with healing and balancing this internal inner child experience and the conscious mind.
That's nice. Yeah.
Writing to heal is just a super, super helpful practice.
I've been doing that every day. Like there's one at 5:30 in the morning and there's one at 8, the two-way prayer. I don't think it's actually Julia Cameron, but it is being super honest with my writing and sharing it with someone is weird. It's not even scary at all. Perfect, total strangers.
Good.
And thank you for, I think it's just Sabrina. And did you go to the singing thing? Because I went out to dinner with a couple of my friends and we were gotten to a deep conversation. I missed it. Did you go last night to the singing?
No, I did not.
I'm gonna go.
Sorry, I'm just.
That was fun. I loved it.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead and